As you may know, Honkai Star Rail released on April 25th of this year, so a little over 2 months ago. However, there's been information on the game that dates all the way back to 2020. So I've decided to put together an iceberg, and I'll be showing off all the information now in this video. If you don't know how an iceberg works, there's different tiers full of information, and the lower a tier is, the more either dark or just unknown the information in that tier is. So anyways, I'm just gonna get right into this iceberg. 1.1 special program delay. So the special program for version 1.1 was initially set for May 25th, but due to some technical difficulties, that date ended up being set back to May 26th of 2023. So around a 20-hour delay, since the program was set to a different time along with the delay. Clara's feet. Clara is the only character in Honkai Star Rail who walks around barefoot, and because of that, Hoyoverse has decided to give her own special footstep sound effect. Take a listen. That's some crazy attention to detail, but this is Hoyoverse. What do you expect? PS5 port. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that Honkai Star Rail will be coming to PlayStation 5, but some people were definitely a little shocked when they found out that Honkai Star Rail didn't come on PlayStation at the same time as mobile and PC and just other devices like that when the game officially launched, obviously. But we did get some news from Hoyoverse themselves saying that Honkai Star Rail will finally be coming to PlayStation 5 in the 4th quarter of 2023. We have no news on PlayStation 4 though. Genshin similarities. So if you play this game and you play Genshin Impact, you should notice a lot of similarities, such as the gacha systems being pretty much the same and the rates and all that, the artifact systems and the relic systems being the same, and even things such as the GUIs being the exact same. And there are more examples obviously, but they're really noticeable and I don't think that they're worth mentioning in this video. No chat system on launch. This one I'm sure everyone knows. There was no chat system when Honkai Star Rail first released, but when 1.1 dropped, we ended up getting a chat system, and this weird problem was fixed, luckily. Re-rolling. So during 1.0 of Honkai Star Rail, there was talk about re-rolling, and a lot of people were doing it at the beginning, but within the first week or two, there was a rumor being spread that if you re-rolled and made like 10 accounts, or like if you made like an absurd amount of accounts in Honkai Star Rail, then you would get IP banned and all of your accounts would get deleted. I don't know if this actually happened or not, since I didn't see any screenshots or anything of people's accounts getting deleted during 1.0. Kuru Kuru. Most people weren't around during the early days of Kuru Kuru, so they don't understand where it actually originated from. And while there's not much to it, Herda as a character was added to one of the closed beta tests around summer of last year. Kuru Kuru was definitely a lot smaller of a meme back then than it is now, but it's really funny to see what this meme has turned into. To finally end off the first tier for this iceberg, we have upcoming content leaks or just leaks. Upcoming content leaks is just, well, leaks for content that's coming in the future that has not been posted yet by Hoyoverse. I try to avoid them, but there are subreddits and Discord servers dedicated to all these leaks. Pretty sure the Discord servers got taken down though, but leaks is pretty known within the community, and I believe, I don't know, probably like half the people within the Honkai Star Rail community actively looks at leaks. For the first topic in the second tier here, we have Honkai Impact third characters. Now this definitely spices up the lore for Honkai Star Rail a lot, and also Honkai Impact, since the welt we see in Honkai Star Rail is the same welt as who we see in Honkai Impact. However, characters like Himiko and Bronya are simply counterparts and not the same person, but all of this will be talked more in the lower tiers. Closed beta tests. If you're an OG for Honkai Star Rail, you would know about the closed beta tests, and you might have even taken part in a couple of. The first closed beta test began in October of 2021 and ended in November of 2021. The second closed beta test began in May of 2022 and ended in June of 2022, and the third closed beta test, I believe, began in February. These beta tests all had something special about them. And by the way, if you're wondering, Luocha's kit and Kafka's kit were shown in CBT2, but they could be different. But anyways, CBT1 was obviously big, since that was the first time anyone got to publicly try out Honkai Star Rail. CBT2 added the Herda space station, and CBT3 added the Shenzhou Luofu. Ancient coins. You've probably picked up a couple of these throughout your I guess, journey in Eurilo 6. You can get an achievement by getting some, I believe, but there's no direct use for these coins. But despite that, they are in the missions category in your inventory. So I think there might be like a quest, maybe, or like a trailblaze mission or something sometime in the future that will put these coins to use. I'm not exactly sure, but I think these coins definitely contribute in some way to the lore. Fu Xuan. Now, Fu Xuan's one of the only few characters in the game that's been shown and we know will be playable, but we actually don't know when she's going to be coming out. Like Blade and Kafka, we know are going to be coming in 1.2 along with Luca, but we don't know when Fu Xuan's going to be coming to the game. Civilized Eurilo 6. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have the Honkai Star World wiki open here, and if I read this paragraph, it says, long ago, the Aeon Nanook, I can't pronounce it, planted the seeds of destruction, and the Antimatter Legion invaded Eurilo 6. The threat was only quelled when Eurilo 6 was suddenly covered by an abnormal blizzard which froze over the entire planet, successfully subduing the Antimatter Legion, but also reducing the human population down to Belobog, which we all know is the city that we get to when we arrive in Eurilo 6. It's a city built by the architects. This unnatural cold came to be known as the Eternal Freeze. So we don't know what kind of planet Eurilo 6 was before this Eternal Freeze, which pretty sure was a result of the Stellaron, but I'd like to think that it resembled probably I don't know, it probably looked something like this. This is what I feel like Eurilo 6 probably looked like before the Eternal Freeze. It was definitely a pretty big planet. It's crazy to think about how that entire planet has just been reduced down to just that small city, Belobog. But this is, I believe this is common knowledge within the Honkai Star Rail community, but we don't know that much about what Eurilo 6 was before the this whole incident here. Penacony. Now, there's not much to be said about this planet, as there's not much that's known about this planet, but it was mentioned in like some radio thing, and it was referred to as the planet of festivities. Now, I don't know exactly where this came from, but I believe at one point the planet was referred to as like a prison planet or something like that. Or maybe it was used in past tense. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But I believe that Penacony was supposed to be the next destination for the Astral Express. But due to Kafka interfering, there ended up being a detour and we arrived at the Shenzhou Luofu instead. So I actually made a video about this a while ago. In like the first like week or two of Star Rail's release, and I believe that Penacony is going to be the region that we travel to right after the Shenzhou Luofu. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, but if you go to the Honkai Star Rail Discord server, you can see that I was the first person to mention Penacony, since I found out about this region way before most other people. Now, since I'm a small YouTuber, my video had zero influence on the community, but shortly after that was made, people started to discover this planet, and now, well, everyone knows about it. Trailblazer dies. This one I'm not even gonna bother going over. The Trailblazer in the main story dies, comes back to life, gains fire powers in a story. If you played the main storyline for Eurilo 6, you would have witnessed it yourself. Not worth really going too much in depth of. It was a really cool scene, but yeah, we all know about it. Colored text. Now, this got patched, but there used to be a way for you to be able to change the color of your text, like on your Trailblaze bio and even your name. If you were to make these changes before this patch, you would actually get to keep the colors, but if you try to do any of this now, then it's not going to work, and it's just going to make your name or bio look really stupid. But you know, this was this was something that didn't have to get patched. You know, I don't really understand. It was cool. I think this should honestly just be like a feature within the game, but Hoyoverse doesn't see it the same way that I do. This ended up getting patched, and this was discovered, and this lasted about like, I don't know, like a day, 2 days, maybe even 3. It wasn't very long though. It got patched as soon as people found out. Finally, end off the second tier for our Iceberg here, we have Silverwolf equals Brony, which is probably one of the most confusing ones here. Now, if you don't know who Brony is just a character from Honkai Impact who resembles Silverwolf a lot, to the point where I thought that they were the same character for like a year straight. According to the voice actress for for these two characters. They're not the same person. I don't know, it's really confusing. I'm always gonna call Silverwolf Brony even if they're not the same person. The reason why this is so confusing is because in like between Honkai Impact and Honkai Star Rail, there are some characters that are, you know, just counterparts. For example, Himeko in Honkai Impact and Himeko in Honkai Star Rail are two different people. But the wealth that we see in Star Rail is the same wealth that we see in Honkai Impact. So this creates a lot of confusion, and I assumed the same for Brony here, or Silverwolf, whatever. But apparently they're not the same person. Even if they're not, I'm always going to refer to Silverwolf as Brony, but this one's really confusing and I can't even put together like an answer myself. I don't know. So now we're gonna start getting into the more obscure tiers in this iceberg. It's funny that I say that because I'm starting this tier off with the Sampo scene, which everyone's familiar with. Now Sampo has always been a sus character from the start, but towards the end of the Eurilo 6 arc, we can see him suddenly becoming sentient, it appears. And a lot of people have been making like theories based off of this. For example, there's one that Sampo is the like Sam person mentioned in one of the archives for the Stellaron hunters, meaning Sampo might possibly be a Stellaron hunter in disguise, and we might see him in future arcs. Another theory is that he's just a literal god, which is definitely a lot less likely, but people are making speculation on this. And the scene, it was definitely interesting. It was really weird. It took me by surprise because I don't believe it was in CBT2, but you know, we don't really know that much about Sampo, I guess. We just assumed that Sampo was like any other ordinary Eurilo 6 citizen, but he might not even come from Eurilo 6. We don't know. The scene was definitely pretty interesting, but it still remains a mystery even to this day. Every achievement. So as of right now, we don't know how many... Oh, that idle animation is so adorable. Anyways, we don't know how many achievements there are in total right now in Honkai Star Rail. So if I go here real quick, I personally have unlocked 201 achievements, 11 of them being gold, 40 of them being silver, and 150 of them being bronze. I'm currently Trailblaze level 61, and a lot of my friends here are around the same level as me, and they have around the same amount of achievements as me. As you can see, 203, 208, 226, you know, you get the general idea. But if I go to one of my friends, Salsa wants me want to be different so badly. This man has 307 achievements. 307! And him and I are the same level. But we know that there are actually more achievements than that. Why? Because if I go to messages right here, I go to Silverwolf. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here. So we go to our messages with Silverwolf, have a look, comment please, and she sends a screenshot of there being 331 total achievements, 18 of them being gold, 65 being silver, and 248 being bronze. She has more bronze achievements unlocked than I have just achievements period, which is wild. But anyways, she adds on to this actually, screenshot from before, lol, found it by accident when cleaning up my gallery. I'm like so nostalgic right now, probs from when the game first dropped. I've gotten more achievements since then. So while this is obviously fourth wall breaking, she claims to have more than 331 achievements. So this is Hoyoverse just telling us in a really goofy way that there are over 331 achievements in the game. Galaxy Explorer program. Now, I'm sure just a couple people watching this video really remember that name. The Galaxy Explorer program was just a program that would recruit literally anybody. You could sign up for this program at any time and you could be invited to any of the like small scale tests that they would hold frequently. The very first test began way back in April of 2022, so you know, a year before Honkai Star Rail officially released. And we don't know that much about these tests since they were signed behind an NDA. If you wanted to partake in this program, you had to sign an NDA. I went over this in some of my prediction videos for Star Rail before this game actually released. You know, obviously, I'm 15. I literally, like, my 16th birthday is next month. I really wish I could have like taken part of these tests, but sadly I'm not of age. I still have to wait 2 more years. But um there weren't that many leaks actually. Obviously, since Star Rail was a much smaller game, it was probably only like a couple thousand people that actually like take part in these tests. But it's definitely interesting to think about some of the content that was potentially in these tests that we don't see like now. Like maybe one of these tests they added another like waypoint like right here next to the workshop, and then they ended up removing it in release. Just for example, we don't know what these tests added since no one bothered to leak anything from them. Now I'm not going out of my way to look for leaks in this game. I've never have done that. I did that before the game launched obviously, but now I don't really do that. So back then it was definitely interesting to see nobody leaking the game, even though the tests were signed behind an NDA. Still, this is the Honkai Star Rail community. It wasn't that much different a year ago than it is now. The only main difference is that the community was smaller and the game wasn't out. Other than that, nothing's really changed since this game has gained popularity. Kafka origins. So I haven't really seen that many other people make theories on Kafka, and so I just want to say I feel like Kafka originated from Penacony, the region that we went over in the previous tier. The reason why I say that is because Penacony used to be like a prison type planet, I believe. Either that or there was just like a big prison. I don't know if the whole entire planet was a prison. I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest lore enthusiast for Star Rail, but anyways, Kafka, obviously a criminal since she's a part of the Stellaron Hunters, along with Silverwolf, who we already know comes from Punk Lord. But Kafka, we don't know where she comes from, so I feel like she probably comes from Penacony, and I think maybe once Penacony actually becomes a playable region, we might get some backstory on Kafka. I don't know. It's a wild theory, I know, but like, it's really fitting. Prison planet, criminal, just origin story. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Punk Lord. Punk Lord is going to be an interesting one to talk about. Now, Silverwolf here is the only character that we know of so far that actually comes from Punk Lord, which Punk Lord, in case you didn't know, is just it's a planet that's just city themed, like modern. It's like a modern day city. I'll show up an image right now. This is the only like scenery we have of Punk Lord at the moment, and this one's definitely interesting since while it does have a reason to be on this iceberg, what makes it even more interesting and what makes it this far down in the tier list is that it's actually really similar to a city in Honkai Impact called Arc City, who, guess what, that's where Silverwolf's quote-unquote counterpart Brony or Haxor Bunny comes from. It's definitely really interesting to see these similarities, as I think that we might see a new Honkai Impact counterpart character if we do ever get to Punk Lord. This is getting into speculation, and I'll try to avoid that, but it's definitely really interesting, and it makes you think, why is Punk Lord so similar to Arc City, and why is Silverwolf so similar to Haxor Bunny if they're not the same character? Speedruns. This is definitely an underground part of the Honkai Star Rail community, but within this community that we all know and love, love's debatable, but within this community, there's an entirely separate community, like a sub-community dedicated to speedrunning this game. Now, there's a speedrun.com page dedicated to Honkai Star Rail here, and if you want, you can join the official Discord server. It's pretty small, since there's not that many people that speedrun, but there's different categories here like Prologue, Chapter 1, Simulated Universe, and Daily Farming. Now, a lot of these dates were submitted a month ago, so definitely a lot less active now than it was, I'm guessing, the early days of Honkai Star Rail, but this is definitely something that a lot of people don't know, and it's this far down in the iceberg for a reason. Zombie Cacolia. This one was definitely wild. Now, if you've played Serval's companion mission, after a certain point you would eventually get to Rivet Town, right here, this area, not on the bridge obviously, but like you would get to a certain area in Rivet Town, and you would end up meeting an enemy. And I'll look for the enemy real quick. It was one of these two. I think it was actually this one, and it was Kokolia's like ghost, kind of just like inside it, and it was really creepy. Eventually, you know, you get into a fight with it, you defeat it. Kokalia, like if she wasn't dead before, now she's definitely dead. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy companion mission, as Kokalia literally came back from the dead, and then she died a second time. Intertwined fate theory. So there's a theory that a lot of people genuinely believe in, that March 7th here is the human embodiment of the intertwined fate, because she's pink and blue. So I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. Pink and blue equals intertwined fate, according to some wild theorists out there. Have you let that sink in yet? I'm sorry, even after 2 years of hearing that, it still blows my mind. I'm sorry, it's just oh my god. I mean, it's also this is the same group of people that say that this is just Klee 2.0. So I mean, at this point, I think those people should just be exiled from the community. Dead NPCs. So yeah, now we're starting to get into the really dark stuff, and we have seen deaths in Honkai Star Rail, mainly the Trailblazer, who just literally got reincarnated, and Kokalia. But there are also other deaths in Honkai Star Rail. The main one that comes to mind for me is in one of the daily missions. You literally just you go up to a soldier that's literally dying, and you witness them dying. I didn't record it, and I don't have any pictures of it. If I do have a picture, then I'll show it up on screen right now. But it was definitely pretty sad, even though I had no emotional connection to that NPC, and nor were they even in the main story. But it was still definitely wild for a daily mission, and chances are they're probably not gonna make another appearance since they're dead. But definitely really interesting that Honkai Star Rail felt like making a daily, or sorry, not. Definitely interesting that MiHoYo or Hoyoverse decided to make a daily mission like that. Himeko is dead. Now, if you've played Honkai Impact and you've played up to chapter 9 or 10, get ready to cry for a second time, since I'm going to be bringing up the most saddest death in Honkai Impact. Now, if you haven't played Honkai Impact, story spoiler, Himeko actually ends up dying. So the Himeko that we see here in Honkai Star Rail is actually not the same Himeko that we see in Honkai Impact. And as a result of this death in Honkai Impact, there was actually a meme that lasted a little bit in the Honkai Star Rail Discord server, where all the active members would be banned if Himeko actually ends up dying in this game too. So if that were to ever happen, get ready. And don't be surprised if Himeko in this game dies too. Prometheus. This one's gonna be way too long for me to be able to explain here, but the name of Silverwolf's weapon here, just that little thingy that shows up for a little bit, the name of that is Prometheus, and that's really interesting because there's a character in Honkai Impact whose name is also Prometheus, who happens to look like Bronya, and Silverwolf here looks like Bronya. And I don't think there's an official explanation yet for why they look so similar, and I'll be honest, I don't even play Honkai Impact anymore. I quit like half a year ago. You know, maybe some Honkai Impact enthusiasts can give their theories for why this is a thing in the comments. Doppelgangers. I kid you not, there's an entire like quest. It was one of these quests, like an adventure mission, dedicated to doppelgangers here in the Herta space station. Now, it was definitely really creepy, as this doppelganger, if you don't know what a doppelganger is just a monster that can transform into a human being and actually pass off as a human being, only to end up just killing humans. And that's what makes it really creepy. I actually am a little bit scared of doppelgangers ever since I watched Summertime Rendering, which is a really good anime. But anyways, there was an adventure mission about a doppelganger that was running around the Herta space station, and it was actually taking form in some of the NPCs, and eventually it even copied the Trailblazers form, and the NPCs in that room with the doppelganger and the Trailblazer actually weren't able to tell which was which, and it was honestly a really good adventure mission. Direct Sea reference. So if we scroll down here in the achievements section for Honkai Star Rail, we can see a couple achievements called Ripples on the Direct Sea, which I believe is a reference to Direct Sea from Honkai Impact, which is it's an Abyss game mode, which did eventually get removed around April of last year, but it was a pretty painful game mode. But past there being a name, there's not really much else about the Direct Sea here in Honkai Star Rail. Imaginary Tree. This one is absolutely huge. This connects all of Hoyoverse's games together. Every single one. Even the dating simulator one that they put out. Tears of Themis. Anyways, I'm sorry. If I go to the data bank here and I go to terms, here we can see the imaginary tree, which I'm pretty sure this is the only time this has been mentioned in Honkai Star Rail. I don't think it's even mentioned at all in Genshin Impact, but in Honkai Impact, there's a crazy amount of lore surrounding this. But anyways, the imaginary tree is a theory of the universe widely accepted by the modern scientific community. This theory describes the various worlds existing in different spacetimes as having a tree-like structure. Each branch is a specific path along which worlds might exist, with every leaf being the marks these worlds have made along the perimeter of time. The crown of the tree remains in a dynamic state as it absorbs the masterless imaginary energy from the space-time vasculature of the trunk. New shoots grow, withered leaves fall, and endless births and deaths occur among the infinite universe. Describing the universe's structure as a tree may be an attitude that views the imaginary tree as a life form. So I mean, I ain't reading all that. I mean, well, I had to for this video, but so it's a beautiful drawing, I know, but you know, this is kind of like the imaginary tree pretty much. And okay, just ignore the leaves there, but each branch here just represents like a universe or like a game, for example. So like one branch here would be Genshin Impact, while another one would be Honkai Star Rail, one would be Honkai Impact, maybe even one for Zenless Zero, and probably, I don't know, another one for Tears of Themis, but that's like I don't know. But anyways, as you can see, these branches, you know, they're different branches, but they're all a part of the same tree here, meaning that they're all connected in some sort of way. That's pretty much what the imaginary tree is. That would explain the counterparts that we see in the different games, for example, like Himiko. So here we can see that it says theory, but we know, well, us Honkai Impact players know that the imaginary tree actually does exist, and this is true. But this one is definitely a pretty big one, and it's definitely interesting to speculate about. Carol. So Honkai Star Rail was announced on October 5th of 2021. However, the day after this announcement, the official YouTube channel for Honkai Impact 3rd posted this video, which kind of ties Honkai Star Rail and Honkai Impact really closely. In Honkai Impact, there's a game mode called A Post Honkai Odyssey, and that has ties with Honkai Star Rail. We can see the Astral Express in what appears to be the city that A Post Honkai Odyssey takes place in, which somewhat clashes with the Astral Express backstory that we learned from Honkai Star Rail, which we learned that it was repaired by Himiko. So it's definitely interesting to see this here. We don't know when this takes place. This is after A Post Honkai Odyssey. I don't know about A Post Honkai Odyssey 2, but here we can see Welt and Carol. They're about to board the Astral Express together. And the weird thing is, Welt, as we know, stays on the Astral Express since we see him on the Astral Express. And the reason why I claimed earlier in this video that Welt from Honkai Impact and Welt from Honkai Star Rail is the same person is because we can see him aboard the Astral Express here. What really makes this interesting is that Carol, who is the girl with Welt, does not make an appearance in Honkai Star Rail, and because of that, she's not on the Astral Express when the Trailblazer hops on. It's definitely interesting, and just like with a lot of the other information on this iceberg, definitely warrants its own video, but it's definitely interesting to think about. If Welt and Carol hopped on the Astral Express together, how come Welt stayed on, but Carol didn't? What makes this even more interesting is that this doesn't take place in any of the areas that we've been to in Honkai Star Rail yet. However, we're about to see March 7th here, which is probably before her Eternal Freeze incident. This is just crazy. I think it's March 7th at least. It looks exactly. Maybe it's her doppelganger. I don't know. But like, that is just wild. We don't know anything about March 7th. So in the future, we might actually see Carol make an appearance in Honkai Star Rail. But it's definitely interesting to think about. One, Carol and Welt hopped on the Astral Express, yet only Welt stayed on. And two, Carol and March 7th are tied together somehow. This video was almost 2 years ago, yet we still have no answers on any of this. Old Honkai Star Rail profile picture. Now, Honkai Star Rail's always had that same picture of March 7th as the icon, but there are two older versions of this icon. One was the same as we know now, but just with the MiHoYo sign, as you can see here, before the great change back in February of 2022. And there was one with no logo at all. So moving on to the final tier on our iceberg here, we have secret language. Now, it's no surprise that Honkai Star Rail has its own language, and even though I put secret in there, it's not really much of a secret. However, what makes it a secret is that we don't actually know what any of it says. I'm sure there's a way to translate a couple of the text in this special language that Honkai Star Rail has, but there's no official English to Honkai Star Rail language translator. You can even see some of the language right there. There's some more here, and honestly, it's really all around the map. You can see even. I'm sure the community will probably be able to eventually crack down on this language, but for now, we don't know what any of that stuff says. Honkai Star Rail leaked in 2021. This one's probably by far my favorite one on this list. Now, I'm sure the vast majority of people watching this video have no idea what I'm talking about, but around September of 2021, Honkai Star Rail was actually leaked. There were, like, most of the characters were leaked, or most of the characters at the time were leaked. This was before the Herta Space Station or the Shenzhou Lofu, so it was literally just Kirilo 6, and it was super, like a really early build of the game, and the cutscenes were all super buggy. Apparently, Hoyoverse accidentally put the game on the App Store for a little bit, and eventually got taken down, and the servers were shut down. But it was absolutely crazy. It was a wild time, and this was a month, maybe half a month actually. Yeah, like I want to say like around half a month before the game got officially announced. But it was certainly crazy to see all of these leaks just before the game was even announced. Honkai Impact 4. Now this one's just a continuation of the previous topic, but if I go here to the official Twitter account for Honkai Star Rail, we can see that it was made in July of 2021, which was the same month when Hoyoverse took legal ownership of the name Honkai Star Rail. This was kind of when leakers officially established that Honkai Star Rail is Honkai Impact 4, which I'll go over now. So before Hoyoverse trademarked the name Honkai Star Rail, they actually trademarked Honkai Impact 4 Galaxy or Galaxia, and you can actually see like an image on screen right now. This dates all the way back to June of 2020, and since these two titles are officially the same, Honkai Star Rail's 3-year anniversary dates all the way back to 2020. Luocha's coffin. So this is the last piece of information on this iceberg here, and I definitely saved this for last for a reason, but if we go to Luocha here, we can obviously see him just kneeling down, but behind him appears to be a large coffin. And during his burst animation, we can actually see some vines, or what appears to be vines, coming out of his coffin, but we don't actually know what's inside it. And as a result, people have been speculating on what might possibly be in this coffin. Now, if you've played Honkai Impact, you would definitely know that Luocha here resembles a very specific character with the name of Auto Apocalypse. And As to whether or not this is the same exact character or just a simple counterpart is actually unknown right now. Here, I'll show up with an image right now of Otto. Definitely not a favorable character in the Honkai Impact community, but there's he has a certain love interest by the name of Colin, and some of the stuff that he did in the main story for her is definitely questionable. And spoiler alert for the story, by the way, but Colin is dead. And because of that, people are speculating that Colin's dead body might possibly be in Vulture's coffin here. Now, it's definitely a crazy theory and definitely meme worthy, but at the same time, it is definitely valid. So that's it for this video. Everything that you saw here, like the iceberg itself, the editing, it was all done by me, so it's definitely pretty time consuming, but this is most of the information that we have in Honkai Star Rail. I tried to be diverse with the information, including stuff about lore, including stuff about the community, just everything really. And you know, if you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, but that's it. Goodbye.